is going on, everybody? It's JT coming at you with another news video. I'm going to be talking about the depth chart that came out today. Just pretty much just that. If you haven't seen it, you should have. It was all over Twitter today. But I just want to go over the depth chart, what it could mean for the Hall of Fame game, what it could mean just in general of how the team is looking so far. So let's just take a look at the first section, which was the offense. I'm going to have it on the screen so you guys can see it. But looking at that, we have pretty much as expected, especially when it comes to wide receivers and tight ends and stuff like that. Where it got interesting was the running backs. Brandon Bolden is right now second team running back, while Kenyon Drake is hitting third team, which I don't think people should really be super concerned about. With Kenyon Drake coming off a bad ankle injury and Brandon Bolden knowing the offense really well, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have Brandon Bolden be the second guy right now. I want to see Zamir White take that role, actually, but Kenyon Drake is a really good pass catcher, which is why he might not be running the rock as much this year. Obviously, he can run the rock pretty well, but I think Brandon Bolden might be able to run a little bit better and has that duality better than Kenyon Drake, but that's just me. And also, he knows the offense, and plus, this is probably not even going to be close to what the depth chart is when it comes game time, week 1, September 11th. Looking at the offensive line, that's also very interesting, is seeing Alex Leatherwood be first team over Brandon Parker, because as we've seen, Brandon Parker has been the first team guy this whole time, and then all of a sudden Alex Leatherwood is now first team. So either this is just a test for preseason, or this is actually how they feel about the offensive line right now, especially right tackle. Personally, I'd rather give Leatherwood a chance and see what he can do second time around than give Brandon Parker his third, fourth chance at this point, because Brandon Parker has never shown any improvement. He's gotten slightly less sacks. I mean, if you look at his rookie year stats and his last season stats, they're like the same stats. He hasn't grown at all. That could just be a Tom Cable thing. That could just be how the offense was run in the past. I think it's just he's just not good. I'm all for if he does improve. Sure, give him a chance, but I don't see that happening. And then when it comes to Leatherwood, it's only his second season. His last year was a rookie. He was struggled a lot, but I'd rather give him a chance to start, and then if he doesn't work, just put Brandon Parker and then give Brandon Parker the start and let Leatherwood sit behind him. Munford is third team. You'll see, all the rookies are underlined, so Bam, Dylan, Thayer are all the rookies and where they are. Looks like Grasu is the second team center, so we'll probably see him start a good amount during the preseason. Parham's behind Simpson. We'll probably see Bartone at left tackle, mix in some Bam for sure. So basically, to look at this depth chart, you just gotta look at who's second team and third team. They'll most likely be splitting reps. The O-line in general is, first team will be getting reps as well, except for Miller. Miller won't see the field. Andre James will probably see less of the field. I think they're pretty confident in Andre James's capabilities right now. And then wide receiver, you're probably not going to see any of Adams, any of Renfro. You'll definitely see everyone else, though. You'll see Keelan Cole, you'll see Mac Hollins, Tyron Johnson, Isaiah Zuber for sure, Demarcus Robinson, DJ Turner, especially DJ Turner, Dylan Stoner. No, he's injured right now. Justin Hall, Isaiah Zuber, and just Jordan VC. Those will definitely be players you'll see a lot of. The other players like Tyron Johnson, Mac Hollins, who is it? Keelan Cole and Demarcus Robinson, you'll see them less, but you'll still see them. And then Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfro won't see the field really ever. Maybe Renfro for some punt returns or kick returns, mostly punt returns, as we'll get to later. But for the offense, I don't see anything too shocking at all. There's nothing much to talk about in the offense other than the stuff we already talked about. So let's move on to what the defense has. Let's see. Let's look. There it is. All right. So looking at the defense, the only surprises right now that I found. Well, actually, there's a few things to talk about. Defensive tackle, Andrew Billings is starter right now. First team defensive tackle. Supposed to be with Bilal Nichols, but obviously he's injured. So you have Kyle Pico probably being the first team if you were to move him up. Unless they think Bilal will be good by the preseason. I probably hope so. But at the Hall of Fame game, we'll probably see Andrew Billings. We'll definitely see Lancaster, Pico, Vickers. We'll definitely see the rookies. Jonathan Hankins being that low on the depth chart is very interesting. Maybe his injury is a lot worse than we thought. Maybe they just, I don't know. I'm not sure why Bilal is so high when he hasn't shown anything yet, and why Hankins is so low when he also hasn't shown anything yet on the pup list. But yeah, Vernon Butler being that low is not shocking to me at all. I don't think he's going to make the team. I'm excited to see how the rookies play. They'll definitely play a lot at the Hall of Fame game, I think. Another thing people found interesting was Jerry Green was the second team defensive end behind Crosby, and then you have Furl behind Jones, and then the third team is Kuntz and Bauer, and then Von Valkenburg and Tagovailoa Amosa is fourth team. We'll definitely see them. We'll definitely see Farrell and Green. We definitely won't see Jones or Crosby for sure. Not even close to seeing any of them start. The other interesting thing was outside linebackers were Divine Diablo and Jayon Brown. I'm not sure whether this is outside linebackers, because it should be Will, Sam, and Mike, but maybe that's just how the depth charts work this year because they're running a mix of 4-3 and 3-4. That's probably why. But it's kind of cool to see Diablo the only one on the right side, so we might see some pass rush from Diablo. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. But what I really love seeing is Darian Butler right behind Denzel Perryman in terms of middle linebacker. So it seems like he's the backup right now to Denzel Perryman in terms of being the middle linebacker, which is fantastic. I for someone who wants to see more of Darian Butler in the silver and black, that's a win. Kenny Young being behind Jayon Brown is not a surprise at all. And then it'll be a battle between Luke Masterson and Curtis Bolton for the last spot, I think. And then looking at corner, Nate Hobbs is probably the nickel. And it looks like Amik is right behind him, which I think is fine because I think Amik showed decent growth in terms of slot. Because I think he can tackle really well. It's just a matter of covering, and slot. You don't really worry about more of the covering. You more worry about can you get close enough to tackle right after the catch, which Nate Hobbs obviously is really good at. And then just because Anthony Averett is CB2 technically, he's actually CB3 or CB2, and Nate Hobbs is CB3, whatever you want to look at it. But Rocky Sin, Nate Hobbs, and Anthony Averett are definitely the starting trio. You'll see Darius Phillips, I think, take that last spot. It's going to be between Darius Phillips, Sam Webb, and Chris Brown, Trayvon LeBlanc. There's actually a lot of CBs in the back end. Trayvon being that low behind Amik, and looks like being behind, I think, Crayvon too. I'm not really sure how to read this. I think he's behind Crayvon. Think that's interesting. Once he gets back, hopefully he gets back in time. We should see him rise in the depth chart just a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of CBs. We'll definitely see a lot of them, especially Ike Brown, Sam Webb, Bryce Cosby. I put the R in the wrong spot. Darius Phillips, etc. We'll definitely see a lot of them. All right, let's move on to the specialists. Not a lot to talk here. It's mostly just that Hunter Renfrow is the starter punt returner, and Amir Abdullah is the starting kick returner. As we see, Darius Phillips and Keelan Cole are second team behind them. And then punter kicker, I don't know what the hell H is. Or holder, that's what that is. I was like, what the hell is an H? Holder, kicker, punter, long snapper, they're all expected. Hunter Renfrow still getting punt returns is both good and bad because he's a good punt returner, but I don't want him getting injured. Like we had that scare at practice the other day. But we might just see Darius Phillips, if he makes the team, just take punt returns more, or DJ Turner if he excels. I honestly think that if Dylan Stoner was here, he would be taking more of the punt returns because that's what he was in college. But Keelan Cole being the backup to Amir Abdullah, because I don't know The only reason why I see Amir Abdullah making the roster is just for kick returns and special teams. I don't see him being any significant contributor to the run game. We might carry five running backs. We might carry Jacobs, Bolden, Drake, White, and Abdullah, which would be very interesting. But yeah, I there's not too much surprise there. I just don't like seeing Hunter being punt returner, even though he's a good punt returner, just because I don't want him injured. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the the depth chart that they put out, the first official one. Not too much out of the ordinary, just some things that were interesting. Not super shocking per se, but just interesting. But thank you for tuning in. Definitely go check out the Retro Ball from earlier today. Check out my preseason show from Sunday. Definitely go check that out. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful day tomorrow. Peace out.